I would say this is how to describe me. As a person, I'm okay, but as a programmer, I'm not so good. And now thanks to AI, I can actually build something up and put it out there. And I'm also a tech community builder, which means I get to talk to people from different levels, especially about programming and now about AI tools and how best they can leverage them. And I'm also a developer advocate, and I have to put it out there, I'm not a 10x developer. And like I said, not so good when it comes to programming. And then I'm also that guy that most programmers hate, who always has an idea. You know, like, oh, I have an idea, I think we can build this. So instead of being an annoyance to my friends, thanks to AI, I can now start working on my own stuff. And if it doesn't work, then it just happens behind the scenes, and I don't have to annoy anyone. So these are some of the testimonials from people who have been building using AI. And you find out someone saying that they spent 6 months building a tool, and then they realized that no one wanted the tool. Special thanks to AI, we can just build, right? Then someone who talked about how they used AI to build a SaaS in minutes, and when asked what it is that it does, they don't know what it does. That is another thing. Then you also have someone who's saying that their business was losing 10,000 a month, and after being told to use AI to transform their business, they took the advice, subscribed to ChatGPT at $20 a month, and their business was transformed, and now they lose $10,000 in $20 a month. So how exactly do we get there? There is this misconception about building using AI tools that you can just go from being someone who doesn't know anything to building something that can help out the world, something that can have impact, and something that can generate some income for you. And I think I would blame those ex-trades for this, because they're always telling you that, oh, I built a SaaS in 10 minutes and now I'm earning 144,000 MRI. And on the last one, someone who built their solution and now they got fired and now they're looking for a job, and this is what they have on their portfolio. If you want to chat with the egg, I think I'll drop the link after. So on my journey, building with AI, I sort of like have come to realize that building with AI is not, I would say it's not one thing as such. I would define it as 3 things that could be separate. For example, building with AI as in using AI-powered tools and assistants, which is what most people do, or applying AI in whatever solution that you are using, or embedding AI capabilities in the final solution using advanced frameworks, for example, integrating AI Studio, Gemini, Vertex. So building AI is not just rapid prototyping, it's about looking at the right tools, making sure that you're building for the right audience, and making sure that whatever you're building is going to be meaningful, responsible, and have some impact. And from the definition that I gave, it's not in the dictionary yet. It is the process of designing. That is the first element, designing. Then you have to develop, and then you have to deploy. And what is it that you're deploying? It is a digital solution. I'll emphasize a little bit on that. Through a strategic use of artificial intelligence tools, frameworks, and platforms. And what I've come up with is something that is similar to this, which is the approach that I usually use when I'm coming up with a solution, a prototype, or just something that I'm doing it for fun. So at the bottom, that is my first step, where I sort of like get to understand the scope of the problem, and then of course do a little research to see what it is that I'm building for whom, and how best can I build it for that kind of person. And then the developer's favorite part, where we get to lock in and then we get to design stuff. And then after that, making stuff and running into errors, making sure that stuff works. And then after doing all that, then give it out to the people so that they test it and hear if it is going to work well. And if you do it right, or if you're lucky enough, you have a prototype that you can actually scale into a SaaS, into an MVP, into whatever you are trying to build. So for all these, I use Google Tools, and I would say I have my own reasons for that. But this talk is not about you getting to use Google Tools, but it's just about showing you my process and how I get to leverage on other AI tools that are out there. So for me to understand the scope of the problem and maybe do the research, there are two Google tools that are found to be helpful. For example, there is the Gemini Deep Research in the notebook LLM. So when I'm building something, when I'm trying to build I have that idea, I want to make it into a product. The first thing that I have to do is to look at who is it going to serve, what kind of stuff do they need, and all that. And now looking from a developer's kind of lens, you're sort of like narrowed. I'm talking about myself. I'm sort of like narrowed, and I'm a little bit too technical when coming up with these solutions. And sometimes we find out that I'm building stuff that the end user may not care about. Now, if I'm going to use Gemini Deep Research, I can ask it to maybe take the role of a business analyst and go online, maybe look at how big the problem is, sort of like search the target audience, and then try to figure out what exactly they would need within that solution. And maybe come up with something, a document. I usually come up with a document that is all the business requirements, the workflow, edge cases, technical specifications, and I'm really bad at designing databases. 2 months down the line, I'm just like, oh, I needed that table, I needed that field. And so I asked Gemini to do it on the first go. And if I have some kind of internal knowledge that I would want to sort of like incorporate, I can also leverage on Notebook LLM, where I sort of like upload all the documents that relate to what it is that I want to work on, and then ask it to sort of like come up with those documents from sort of like a collection of my data that I'll be referencing to. Then after I have that, there's another thing that I think I've left on the thing that's come out from Gemini. One of my favorite is actually ask Gemini to give me the prompts to generate the application that I want to do. So after coming up with this, the next stage would be the designing part. So for designing, I use Opal with Google, which is an experimental tool that they are sort of like testing at the moment. And what I like about it is it sort of like visualizes the workflows for me. It's not really perfect, but those visual workflows can sort of like help me understand where I'm coming from and where I'm going. And then the other tool that I use is Stich, which is what I use for UI UX. Let's say I want to create mockups, I want to create wireframes. Stich is well able to do that, and whatever it produces, it is still editable in Figma, so saving me some time, and special thanks to AI. And then after that, we now have to make our own stuff. So these are the major tools that I use. There's the Google Agent Development Kit, the ADK, where I sort of like to get to test. If I'm integrating AI, I get to use it. Then there is the Google AI Studio. So when it comes to building with AI, sometimes you find out that it's rare for someone to get the system prompts on the first attempt. So the Google AI Studio allows me to sort of like tinker around and see if I'm getting the right tone, if I'm getting the right results, and if I'm producing the correct output. And then if I'm building on the cloud, I usually go for Vertex. And like I said, there are a lot of tools out there that you can use, but I'm just a Google guy. Then, so basically that is my workflow. And then after that, of course, it now is to go to the people so that they sort of like test it out. And there is something that I was trying to work on, where I was trying to come up with something that would get a schedule online, and then it will sort of like put tags on all the talks that are being presented, and then someone could choose whatever talk that they want to attend according to the text that were given. So having that, this is what I had when I just asked Gemini deep research to come up with all those documents that I wanted. And as you can see, it's sort of like, like this trend with deep thinking, it sort of like takes it what it is that you're saying, and then it says, okay, before I go and hallucinate, which is what AI usually does, before I go and hallucinate, this is the workflow that I have, this is the work plan that I have. Are you cool with it before I proceed? And then if I have some edits to make, I can just go and edit the plan, and then it will ask me to confirm again. And if I'm satisfied, then we'll go and we just start the research. And maybe in a few minutes, 10 maximum, you have your document with everything that you need, the edge cases, the database schemas, everything that you need to build up, and even the prompts, which are my favorite part. And after that, I took the user guidelines from that document, and then I just put that prompt into Google Stich, and it made this, it designed this interface for me. So if you don't have a UI UX designer and you are not very good at UI and UX like I am, that is one tool you can also leverage on. And for me, they are pretty cool, so that would allow me to go to the next stage. And when I was trying to also visualize the workflows, I took the prompt to Opal, and Opal. The next thing about Opal is these workflows that are over here, where it sort of like tells you, it gives you function names, which functions are linked to that function that you are calling, and the variables that are sort of like included. So for me, I usually go to Opal for the visual, and then if you're working with Opal, there is room for you to collaborate with other people. So now, if you have, let's say you have this idea that you are trying to work on, something that you want to prototype, usually you would have someone tell you that I have this idea, then you go and build, and then you come back to them, and sometimes they're like, no, it isn't what I exactly said. So with Opal, you can actually give someone the link to this, and they can test it out. And then you can also add collaborators. So whoever it is that you are building for, you can ask them to sort of like refine whatever it is that they want. And then from there, when you have the workflows, if you're not a vibe coder, you can just go and start developing the way it was usually done before AI. But as for me, I will still take this and take it back to AI. And then another tool that I would use is Jules, which is for pair programming. So after having this from Opal and having my interfaces, another tool that I use is Firebase Studio, so that it can develop this maybe into a web app or a mobile application. And I think we all know that you never get it right with AI on the first go. So Firebase Studio actually allows me to download my code or edit to GitHub. And then this is where Jules is useful. So Jules is now like your pair programming pal, where sort of like, you just say with, okay, Jules, you work on this, this feature, this function, fix this bug, while you do other stuff, and it will work separately, and then it will push into your GitHub branch. So, and by the way, before it does that, it actually asks you to confirm, which is a good feature, because you wouldn't want it to just autonomously just write code for you. So, yeah, basically that is what I've been doing for quite a while. And it has not only helped me to build stuff, it has helped me to be able to communicate with developers, because currently I take the role of a business analyst. Most of the time I will be talking to people, listening to what it is that they want. And of course I can come to a developer and tell them, oh, the people are facing this problem, they're saying this and that, build this, but without the visuals, without some sort of guides, it is a little bit tough. So usually that is the workflow that I do, so that I simplify it for the developers, and I'm able to translate what it is that the user wants and what the developer can make. And there's some sort of reference, some sort of guide when they're doing their work. So yeah, I would say that is pretty much it. And I'm not limiting you to Google tools. I said this is, like I said at the start, this is not a Google promo talk, but you can. There are other great tools that you can get to use. For me, I found other IDEs like Kiro, Amazon Q, being able to do what it is that I want, especially if I have the prompt and I just want to build mainly for front end. They work perfectly fine. Their designs are on point. Gemini, I will use it maybe sometimes to take my wireframes, to take my UI UX designs, and then build from there onwards. But yeah, pretty much that is it. This is my process, and you can feel free to utilize it, to develop on it. You can add to it, and you can even correct me, during the whole sessions. So yeah, thank you very much, and this is where I end.
Thank you, that was amazing. Wait, don't go down yet. Does anyone have any questions? While you guys think of your questions, I have a question. So in my company, there are big product teams, and a lot of them are sort of keen to try out AI stuff for prototyping, the kind of stuff you're talking about, but they don't really know where to start. Where would you suggest that people start? Can be within this tool set, but what's the easiest entry point for someone who's maybe a product owner and wants to try?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Within the Google tools, I think the first place they would have to start up with is Firebase Studio, because it's mainly prompting, and you get something that is visual, and you get to sort of click and to make corrections. If it's not working, you can just copy and paste the error, and it also explains as you do the development process. And another thing is that it helps you from the designing process up to the deployment. So that would be an easy way for a beginner.
I'll ask quickly with Firebase is also where you can actually make apps, right? So you're saying it's sort of an integrated thing.
Yeah, you can make applications, websites. For now I know of applications and websites.
Okay, interesting. I'll suggest that.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. I love that you said you are not promoting Google. Maybe just an addition to the question you asked. What I've learned with these prototyping tools is the foundational model behind them sort of leans towards whoever produced it, that you deploy whatever you're building on that platform. So if you go with the Google one, trying to prototype something you want to deploy, say on AWS, you'll find that here and there, it gives you false information, interchangeably as well with the Kiro one, which comes from AWS. So my contribution would be figure out the stack you want to use, and in as much as you can leverage them both, you have a better source of truth with the selected one. For those starting out, right now, Kiro, a prototyping tool from AWS, is on free trial. Like, you can experiment as long as you want. So you prompt it your idea, it does a description spec for you to make sure that that's exactly what you want. So you can even clean up that description during the manual process. Then you prompt it again, it does a design for you. If it suggests expensive things which you don't want to use and you want open source in some of the components, you guide it and you change that. Then you can actually prompt it to generate the code now. One thing I like is everyone is pushing for the usage of Python because, you know, with AI data, Python is the best. So you get to also upskill your Python skills. That's what I'm also focusing on now. So yeah, there are a lot of prompting tools, and I like your talk. Gave me a different perspective on what I'm familiar from. So I'm actually gonna try it. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Nice talk. I know these tools actually work for you. I just wish to find out whether you've tested other tools before dwelling on these ones. Are there some other tools that you tested and they weren't quite friendly, maybe in terms of user interface or the experience, and you notice that these ones that you've presented, they are the best?
Was, I can tell it. For those who maybe didn't hear so well, the question is sort of, so you find use and value in these ones. Were there some that you tried prior to this that maybe weren't as user-friendly or didn't produce good output? Were there other ones that you can tell people, I tried and they were not great, and then you'll save them the effort of trying those same ones?
Well, the thing about most of these tools is they mostly rely on the models that were there when I tested them out. So I wouldn't say that there are any that are bad per se, but I think most of them, they just work great, but they work for different purposes. Some focus on how we are going to do your backend, like your workflows, they're perfect with that. And then some are just good when it comes to great interfaces. So I just say they're all good. It only depended on the period on time where I tested them out, but there isn't any that I would totally complain about.
Fair enough. Oh, right at the back, gonna make me run. Oh, there we go, excellent.
Hear me? Okay. I have a bit of a stupid question, but what precautions have you put in place to protect your IP? So to give you an example, at Thinkst, we would use GPT, for example, and we would have like an organization account where any data or code snippets that we put in isn't used to train other models. Is that something that you've considered? What other precautions have you put in place when using your AIs?
When it comes to using these tools, I never use them with my work projects. Of course, their terms and conditions allows for them to sort of like upload the code if they deem it necessary and take a look at it maybe for 48 hours or so. So for my work, I never use them. I only use them for maybe, just an idea that just popped up and I just want to see how it would look like. I haven't used it for anything that is serious.
Is it already on? Yes. Great. Any other questions? Okay. Let's thank Brandon again.